Hello, y'all. It's your girl, Kamisha Tyler, aka Cynthia. I am on this feed. I want to talk a little bit about just informing the women when the dudes band together under patriarchy rule, right? And then you may see your loved and cared for ones siding in white supremacy when they call this alarm to band together as men or masculine figures, and you see your loved ones join in. It's because they have to protect their masculinity. We know how white supremacy pushes so hard to put feminism or femininity onto our African Negro American folk, men, dudes, young boys. And so when there's a alarm set or alarm sounded in the ways of masculinity, they've just declared war on loyalty, right? We don't have to take it personally, but we have to see it for what it is, where they're now wanting to find problematic issues in loyalty. Okay, so I just had a situation where I had to let the dude here know, no, you're trying to operate separation between my family, my son and myself. And he was just telling a bold-faced lie to my face. And then when I questioned my child about it, if this had actually been said, then he wanted to change the story, right? And it's the same people who've been looking for any issue to try to find fault against us and do a siege or trying to seize my property and force us out. So he was making up, in my opinion, because my son said no, he did not say those things to this this individual in particular. In fact, he said this guy wasn't the one who said something to me, was actually not even in the proximity of the conversation that was had. So and I let my child be free to find the therapy or the counseling that he feels like he may need, and get things off of his chest where he feels like it's a safe space. You can say whatever you like to say if you feel like this has really happened. But the issue I run into with that is that a lot of these people, these so-called CPS, child traffickers, or whoever they are operating in disguise as, they like to take the word of the child and then take it as that's it, the end all, right? And then they feel like they can bypass having to have a conversation with the adult. They've been doing this for a long time, since my children been in school, and they didn't like the fact that they were treating my children a certain way, and I would come in and speak with the adults and say, no, you have to speak with me if there's a problem with my child. So now they're trying to find a roundabout way where they're trying to bring in so-called criminal, or they're worried about the welfare or the well-being of my child, to be able to bypass having to actually have a conversation with me and we get to the bottom or the truth of the matter, whereas they like to take the lie and run with it so that they can control the narrative. So when that happens, and you see perhaps your loved ones siding on that side, it's because we already know there's this agenda for homosexuality or transgenderism, where they want them to wear dresses and lipstick, and they bully that onto our young boys and our men and things like that. Where I was speaking to someone the other day where they don't mind being like a Debo type character and finding pride in the fact that they will readily sexually violate your male child. So don't be alarmed when you see, your loved one perhaps siding with, or when you know for a fact something has or has not happened and they can't feel like they're being a snitch in sort of a sense. Or if they have to feel like they have to side with the enemy because there's been an alarm called, or a sound, a horn blown for all the men to gather. And you see this done in the Bible too, although it was done for them to gear up and prepare for battle. We see it being used in a way where they try to create separation and division in the family of saying, well, it's a matter of the masculine versus the feminine. And then you see in the biblical text where when God said, well, you have too many people here, getting ready for war or battle. And it said those who feel afraid or whatever, you can go back home. And so they play on this as well, where they try to demasculinize the young boys, developing boys and men. And they have to fight for their masculinity. And so a lot of times you'll see them lie on their mom about whatever. They'll lie to their woman. They'll go out and cheat. They'll try to do everything they can to save their masculinity, because it said that you don't never want to let down your manhood. And that has been the issue with homosexuality for a while. So I just wanted to get on and just, give this little insight. Didn't really pull open the books. These are things that you can find the story about the men being arrayed or called to battle in the Bible if you Google it. But we know that we're dealing in modern time white supremacy systems, and when we see things happen against us that are out of the box, is what we call it. It's not in the box, because in the box they would have been called to battle, or they would have been being called to war against the enemy. But when they operate out of the box, then they're called to defend their masculinity against homosexual tendency, or being harassed and antagonized of that behavior by these homosexual bullies or transgender bullies, wanting to hold on to masculinity in one hand, but then femininity or transgenderism in the other hand, and justify themselves by that, saying that don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. So on that note, I hope y'all enjoyed y'all day. Weather's decent today, and I'll talk to you soon.